Hey everybody, it's Kory. Thanks for joining me. We are in the first week of June. We're almost halfway through 2025. Crazy, isn't it? Okay, so in the title, you'll notice that I said the North Idaho real estate market is dead. And I'm going to show you using stats right here for the month of May to show you just what I mean by dead. And by dead, I don't mean like the market's crashing or there's nothing selling. By dead, I mean like stagnant dead, like bleh. I would have used the word bleh in the title, but I couldn't spell it, so I used the word dead. But in all seriousness, the market here right now, you guys, it's just blah. Nothing's going towards the sellers, nothing's going towards the buyers. I'll show that to you now using the stats, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to explain to you why I think the market is dead. I'm going to introduce you to a term that I came up with called the gap. I'll flesh that out for you, and I think it'll be critical for you to understand where our market is at for both of you as sellers, if you're trying to sell a home, and as buyers trying to buy a home here. You need to understand the gap. It'll help you to understand how to navigate our market. All right, so the first graph that I want to share with you, I'll pop it up here on the screen, it's closed sales. And just looking at the graph, I want you to pay attention to trends. There's two trends, right? So there's an upward trend and a downward trend. The upward trend started in 2012. That was during the Great Recession. And every year from 2012 all the way to 2020, closed sales went up every year. Prices were going up, closed sales were going up. And then what do you notice from 2020 all the way down to current 2025? The downward trend in closed sales. Closed sales have been going down every year. And if you look at the peak, May 2020, we had 826 homes that sold in that May. That was 49% more homes that sold than this May in 2025. So what you're talking about is currently we have half the sales that we had in 2020. That means there's half the buyers moving to our area. That means there's half the buyers in the market for you as a seller to show your homes to. And one of the first arguments that you'll hear quote unquote armchair experts make, or real estate agents in our market make, as to why closed sales are down is because we simply don't have the inventory to sell. And that's not true. In fact, looking at this graph here, you can see homes for sale, again going all the way back to 2012. I want you to pay attention to May of 2021. Homes for sale was at its all-time lowest for May at 768 homes on the market. Currently, in May of 2025, we have 2,069 homes on the market. That's up 168% since 2021. So inventory is adding up. There are more homes by 168% today in May than there was in May of 2021. So it's not like the inventory isn't helping us make closed sales. There's actually houses that are on the market. But before you get excited, you'll notice that May of 2025 is still well below the all-time May of 3,204 in 2014. And then throwing this graph up so that you can see these are the median sales prices currently that justify the claim that I'm making that the market is dead. You'll notice that since 2021, our all-time high home median price was $580,000. Since then, we've gone down about 8%. So May 2025, the median price is $533,000. Again, that's down 8% since the all-time high in May of 2021. We've also gone down year over year about 0.03 from last year. But if you look at this trend since 2021, the median sales price has just kind of hovered in that 550 range. So prices aren't going up because sellers are making a killing, and prices aren't going down because buyers are making a killing. We're just kind of where we're at, and we're where we've been for about 3 or 4 years now as far as median price. The prices haven't gone up or down significantly to report it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. If anything, we can argue that the seller's market is dead and we're back to equal footing. And that brings us up to this concept on why the market is so dead. Let's get into the term the gap. So when I talk about the gap, I'm going to use a prop. Obviously this is a C clamp, and you can see here this goes up or down and compresses whatever you have in this vise to the top of the clamp. Right now, where the bottom and the top meet, We call that a closed sale. This is where the buyer and the seller meet. But unfortunately, as the graphs have just shown you, there's a gap, and I'm going to explain this to you. Just hang in there with me. The gap is pretty wide. There's no closed sales going on, right? The bottom and the top are not meeting. The buyers and the sellers are not meeting. There's this gap now. Now, I want to explain to you what this gap is. Let me throw this over here. Okay, so as I flesh this out, I want you to understand that Bonnie and I, we represent both buyers and sellers in our market. We're one of the top producing teams in all of Idaho, and we do both sellers and buyers. And this is a perspective that I think benefits both of you who are both looking to sell or to buy. So let me explain to you how we represent sellers. When you're selling your home, we come to your house, we look it over, we make sure that we understand if it, has any smells, has it been remodeled, how does it look compared to the other competition, and then we run an analysis. We pull comps on homes just like yours within your area, and we try to come up with a range of where we think your house will sell. So let's say we come into your house and we say, look, we've run comps based on what we see here. The range in which we want to see you list your house is somewhere between 500 and 550, because in this range is where your competition is selling. And then we ask, where do you want to be? If you want to sell your house quickly, we recommend that you come in at the low range, maybe somewhere around 500. And if you want to see what the market can afford you, we recommend you come in at around 550, but no higher, or your house is going to sit longer. And that is what we call the range in which we are going to list your home. And then you as a seller decide where you want to be. Now, when we represent buyers, we do the same thing. Let's say we're looking at a house. We're going to run comps on that house, and we're going to see what the competition in that market has sold for over a period of time, maybe 6 months or a year. And then we'll come to our buyer and we'll say, the house that we showed you that you're interested in making an offer in, we see that homes are selling somewhere between 500 and 550. What do you want to come in at? Now, let's just back up. Where do you think sellers want to be on their range? If it's between 500 and 550, where do sellers want to be? And I would be the same. I want to be at the top of that. I want to see what the market can give me. What we typically hear sellers say when you give them a range is, I want to be at that 550 range because I'm not in a hurry. And we hear this a lot. I'm not in a hurry. And they're not. They've got interest rates in the 3s and the 4s. They're not being pressured out of their home as if you were back in 2000, 2007, 2008, where people had adjustable rate mortgages and their monthly rate was going up. They had to get out of those homes because they were just getting killed by those mortgage rates every month. That's not the case right now. Sellers aren't being pressured to move out unless there's some kind of a divorce situation. But again, when you're a seller, what we're typically hearing is, I'm not in a hurry. I'm going to list it at the top of the market. So what do sellers do? They generally trend to list their houses at the top of the range that we recommend. Now, go back to buyers. What do buyers want to do? Well, they don't want to pay the top price for a house. So if we give them a range and we say that house is somewhere between 500 and 550, they're going to make an offer in that 500 range. And that's where you find the gap. Sellers are listing at the top of the range. Buyers are offering at the bottom of that range. So you have a gap in this situation between 550 and 500. Well, if the seller doesn't feel a need to come down and the buyer doesn't feel a need to come up, we're not going to close that gap. And that's what's happening in our market right now. Buyers don't want to pay more for a house than what it's worth. Sellers want to get the most that they can get out of the market. And if those two don't come together, they walk away. The buyers say, well, I'm not going to pay what that guy wants for his house. I'll go look for another one. And then if sellers get a lowball offer from a buyer, they're like, well, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not going to give my house away. I'm going to tell that buyer to go away, and I'm going to wait for another buyer. And you guys, that's what's happening in our market right now. There is a gap. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, you guys. And remember, we do both represent sellers and buyers in our market. If you're either one of those looking to buy or sell here in the North Idaho market, we would love to get your questions answered. We can meet in person if you're here in town. We can do Zoom calls. We can do conference calls and get your questions answered as you figure out where you want to be in this market. That's it for now. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Bye now. Thanks for watching the video. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kory Martinelli. My wife Bonnie and I own a local real estate team based in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Our personal journey to live better began in 2009 when we relocated our young family to North Idaho from Ventura County, California. We wanted to raise our family in a place rich with outdoor recreation and in a culture that treasured our strong conservative values. Leaving family, friends, and church was not easy. Perhaps the scariest decision was to leave behind 21 years as a deputy sheriff with Ventura County and finish my career with a new agency. But I did it and finished serving out my 3 decades in law enforcement as a deputy with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Department right here in North Idaho. While I was doing the easy part, working in law enforcement, Bonnie diligently raised our 2 children, battled breast cancer into remission, and started her real estate career part-time. Talk about a winner. After retiring from law enforcement in 2016, I joined Bonnie in real estate and we went full-time forming the Martinelli Realty team and this video channel. Since then, we have successfully navigated one of the most aggressive and competitive real estate markets in America to help over 300 families relocate to North Idaho. In that time, Bonnie has been recognized as one of the top 1% producing real estate professionals in the entire country. It is this experience that we have gained in the market that forms the foundation of our videos. If you are wondering if you can live better in North Idaho, we dedicate this channel to you.